Shalom, welcome to Halacha Time. Today's question: when should one recite the blessing of Gomel? I'll get into first who should be saying it, because that depends on when. A lot of brachot, the question is when to say the bracha, when the circumstance calls for it. One says ha'etz before eating an apple, one says the birkot ha-mitzvah before doing that particular mitzvah. And some blessings are said afterwards in thanks for what happened. Birkat Gomel, the sages say, is to be recited by 4 people. This is a Gemara Brachot. It's brought in Orach Chaim 219. It mentions that in Psalm 107, Psalm Kuf Zion, there are 4 people who need to give thanks. Those are seafarers, Yoredei Hayam. Basically, the Achronim believe that it's when these people who are traveling by boat by the sea, including the oceans and the major things connected to the ocean, like the Mediterranean, etc. It's when they get to their port of destination, by the way, not when they dock temporarily in some places, even for a few days. It's only when they finally get to their destination. All these people, by the way, are people who are in a state of unnatural danger. Normally, people live where they live in civilization. When they step out of that safety bubble, that's when they're put in an inherently dangerous situation. So they should say Gomel. So we said seafarers and those who traverse the wilderness. It says Holchei Midbariot, and those who were ill and incapacitated and then recovered. In the olden days, before modern medicine, taking ill and being stuck in bed was life-threatening, and sometimes people did not recover from that. So when a person gets out of bed finally, that's considered as though he's been released from this danger. And those who were imprisoned and then released. I don't think there'd be a distinction between what we call in Western countries jail, where a person is being held before trial or being waited for press charges, and one who is actually convicted and sent to prison. Or during certain trials, a person spends time either in prison or in jail. The sages looked at those the same way. That's someone who's stuck. He's called chavush. And they actually give a mnemonic, V'chol ha'chayim yodu chasela. Kol ha'chayim, chayim, is spelled Chet Yud Yud Mem. It stands for Chavushim, those in prison, Yisurim, those who are sick, Yam, those who traverse the sea, and Midbarot, those who go through the wilderness. And in the modern era, many have pointed out that if men creating seaworthy vessels and then traversing the seas in these boats that man makes, and sometimes, boats don't make it. They don't make it across the sea. They end up at the bottom of the sea. That's a situation of danger. So too, man has created gigantic airplanes out of steel, which also highly unnatural that man should enter a gigantic steel tube and fly across the world above the seas and thousands of feet above the continents. That's also a similar case of danger. So one who has just traveled, air travel also. For some reason, they're more machmir, they're more stringent with regards to intercontinental travel or overseas travel, and not for domestic travel. For example, a lot of places in the United States, the continental United States, one doesn't go over the sea at all, but perhaps also that would warrant this. So all the people who go into there, when they finally reach their destination, or they finally get out of jail, or they finally are out of bed, so that's when they would recite this blessing of thanking God. The Shulchan Aruch brings a few other criteria. For example, one should say it with standing, and he should say it in the presence of a minyan, that's 10 adult Jewish men, among them 2 rabbis, but none of these are critical factors. That is, if one did not have it, technically one could still recite the blessing, and one has discharged his obligation to recite this blessing. And there is a practice to say this blessing following reading from the Torah. Why specifically? That's not so clear, but that's when they tend to do it. That's when people know to do it. But the minyan, and that is the 10 men plus the 2 rabbis, doesn't have to be at the Torah reading. Indeed, people sometimes do it as soon as they can. They get a group together and they do that. Also, women don't go up to read the Torah, so they have to do it in some other circumstance where they have 10 men, among whom 2 rabbis. There's another case of the Ra'ah. How long does one have to do this? Technically speaking, when we talk about eating food, the after blessing, there's a time limit. We say like 72 minutes, the time it takes a person to walk 4 miles, 4 Roman miles, which is about 4 kilometers, a little bit more than an hour. So once a person's eaten and then gone that far, so he missed his chance to give thanks for his food. But with regards to giving thanks for these circumstances, just like one who is obligated to bring a korban in Thanksgiving never discharges his obligation until he actually brings it. It could go on his entire life. Technically speaking, one has this obligation his entire life until he actually does it. The Mishnah Berurah brings the Ra'ah, who says that it's worth waiting even up to 30 days from the incident, from the person's delivery from these dangerous circumstances, to recite the blessing with the minyan, at the Torah reading, etc. But if not, then technically one can do it. So to sum up, when should one recite the blessing of Gomel? ASAP. A person today recovered from illness, so he should, Monday, today happens to be a Sunday, so tomorrow morning, Monday, he should get up in the synagogue after the Torah reading and say the blessing. That's as soon as possible. That's with the 10 men. Hopefully there'll be 2 scholars there also, and thereby satisfy all the opinions. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to check out the other videos in this Halacha Time series.